Hi everyone! Today we are diving into a mystery that's haunted the world for nearly 8 decades. The Roswell incident. Picture. This July 1947, a quiet desert town in New Mexico becomes the epicenter of a question that still burns: did aliens crash on Earth? What if I told you that in 2025 new evidence has surfaced? Evidence the government can't sweep away. This isn't just a story of a crash. It's a tale of secrets, fear, and truths that might change how you see the universe. Roswell isn't just a place, it's a feeling. A shiver down your spine when you wonder, what's out there? Let's uncover the truth together, step by step, and see what's been hidden in the sands of time. It all begins on a stormy summer night in 1947. The skies over Roswell, New Mexico, are restless, lightning cracking like a warning. A rancher named William McBrazel is tending his sheep when he hears a sound unlike anything else, a deafening boom that shakes the earth. The next morning, he rides out to check his land and stumbles across something bizarre. Scattered across the desert are pieces of debris, strange, lightweight metal that glints unnaturally in the sun, foil-like material that won't tear, and beams etched with symbols no one can read. Mac's no stranger to the desert, but this isn't junk from a plane or a weather balloon. It's otherworldly. He gathers some of the wreckage, stuffing it into sacks, and heads to town, his mind racing. What did he find? Was it a machine? A weapon? Something alive? Word spreads fast in Roswell. By July 7th, Mac shows the debris to the local sheriff, who's just as baffled. The sheriff calls the nearby Roswell Army Airfield, home to the 509th Bomb Group, the only unit in the world trusted with atomic bombs at the time. Military men arrive quickly, their faces grim. They cordon off the ranch, warning locals to stay away. But whispers are already slipping through the cracks. Townsfolk talk of a flying disc that fell from the sky. A story that hits the front page of the Roswell Daily Record on July 8. The headline screams, "RAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region." For one fleeting moment, the world believes aliens have landed. Can you imagine the excitement, the fear, people staring at the stars, wondering if we're not alone? But then, the story changes. The army backtracks, claiming it was just a weather balloon. The newspaper prints a retraction, and the debris is whisked away to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. Mac is told to keep quiet, and the town falls silent. Yet, the questions don't die. Why the rush to hide it? What was so dangerous about the balloon for decades? Roswell becomes a whisper, a legend dismissed as folklore. But in 2025, new files declassified, buried for years, are about to crack the case wide open. What's in those documents? Why now? Let's step back into that desert and find out what McBrazel really saw. As I stand in the sun-scorched New Mexico desert, in my mind's eye, I can almost feel the weight of McBrazel's discovery. The debris he found wasn't just strange, it was impossible. Picture these strips of metal so light they barely touched the ground, yet so strong they wouldn't bend under a hammer's blow. Some pieces were thin as foil but sprang back to their original shape no matter how you crumpled them. Others had markings, not in any language anyone knew, more like hieroglyphs from another world. Mac said the symbols glowed faintly under moonlight, a detail he shared with friends before the military swooped in. Can you imagine holding something like that? Something that doesn't belong to Earth? It's the kind of find that makes your heart race, your mind spiral with questions. The ranch wasn't just a random patch of dirt, it was 7,500 acres of rugged terrain, 75 miles north of Roswell. Mac found the debris spread across a half-mile stretch, as if something massive had skidded and shattered. He wasn't alone in his discovery either. His neighbor, Loretta Proctor, saw the material when Mac brought it to her house. She described a piece of metal that felt like nothing, almost weightless, but it wouldn't burn, even when they held a match to it. Loretta urged Mac to take it to the authorities, but she later regretted it. The moment he did, the world closed in. The sheriff's office was buzzing, locals crowding to catch a glimpse of the saucer fragments. Word reached Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer at Roswell Army Airfield, who drove out to the ranch himself. Marcel was no rookie, he'd handled classified missions, knew aircraft inside out. When he saw the debris, his jaw dropped. He later told his son, Jesse Jr., about beams with purple symbols that seemed to pulse. He said the material was unlike anything he'd ever seen, not from any US or Soviet tech. Marcel collected as much as he could, loading it into his Jeep, but the sheer volume was staggering. Some pieces were as big as car doors, others tiny as coins, all scattered like a cosmic puzzle. He took samples home that night, waking his family to show them. Can you picture that a military man so stunned he breaks protocol to share it with his kid? By July 7, the military was in overdrive. Soldiers combed the ranch, picking up every scrap. They didn't just clean the site, they sanitized it. Locals were turned away at gunpoint. A farmer named Dan Wilmot, who'd seen a glowing object streak across the sky days earlier, started connecting dots. Was it a craft? A scout ship? Something watching us? The Roswell Daily Record ran its infamous flying saucer headline, and for 24 hours, the world was electric with possibility. But the debris, that strange, unearthly material, was the key. What was it made of? Why did it defy every test? As the army trucks rolled out, hauling it to secret bases, one question burned: were we holding proof of life beyond the stars? The desert dust hadn't even settled when the military clamped down on Roswell like a steel trap. By July 8, 1947, the Army's story was locked in no flying saucer, just a weather balloon. A press conference at Roswell Army Airfield showed reporters a pile of tattered foil and rubber. Nothing like the unearthly debris McBrazel described. Major Jesse Marcel stood there, tight-lipped, as General Roger Ramey pointed to the wreckage and called it a mistake. The Roswell Daily Record printed the retraction, and the word was told to move on. But can you feel the tension in that moment? The way the truth seemed to slip through their fingers. Locals knew better. They'd seen the soldiers, the cordoned-off ranch, the trucks hauling something away under tarps. This wasn't a balloon, it was a cover-up. The military's response was too fast, too coordinated. Within hours of Mac's report, the ranch was crawling with personnel from the 509th Bomb Group. They didn't just collect debris, they scoured every inch, leaving nothing behind. Witnesses saw men in uniforms combing the sand with tools, some say even flamethrowers, erasing any trace. Mac himself was detained for days, questioned at the base. When he came back, he was different, quiet, nervous. Friends said he'd been warned to keep his mouth shut, or else his son, Bill Brazel, later found a few scraps of debris the army missed. He hid them, but soldiers showed up at his door weeks later, demanding he hand them over. What kind of balloon sparks that kind of fear? The secrecy didn't stop at the ranch. Roswell's radio station, KGFL, was ready to air interviews with witnesses when they got a call from Washington. The FCC threatened to revoke their license if they broadcast anything about the crash. Can you imagine the chill that ran through the station, a federal agency, hundreds of miles away, silencing a small-town outlet overnight? Even the Roswell Daily Record faced pressure. Reporters who pushed for details were stonewalled or reassigned. The Army's message was clear: this story dies here. But the harder they pushed, the more it backfired. People started whispering about what the military was so desperate to hide. Then there were the strange movements. Witnesses saw convoys leaving Roswell under heavy guard, heading toward Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. That base wasn't just any facility. It was where the Army studied captured enemy tech, reverse-engineered aircraft, and ran top-secret projects. Why send a balloon there? Locals like Frankie Rowe, a fireman's daughter, overheard soldiers talking about bodies being loaded onto planes, bodies that weren't human. The word spread, quiet but unstoppable. Like wildfire in the dark. Was the military hiding a craft? Or someone else? As the days turned to weeks, Roswell became a town of secrets. Every glance over the shoulder A question, what did they take from us? The whispers in Roswell didn't fade, they grew, fed by stories too wild to dismiss. By mid-July 1947, locals were sharing accounts that sent chills down spines. People like Frankie Rowe, just 12 years old, said her father, a fireman, came home pale, muttering about creatures at the crash site. He'd seen bodies, small and gray, with oversized heads and eyes like black pools, not human. He swore, but alive or once alive. Frankie overheard soldiers at the fire station, their voices low, talking about a craft half buried in the sand, its hull cracked but intact. Can you picture her, wide-eyed, clutching those words like a secret too heavy to hold? Her story wasn't alone. Others in Roswell were piecing together a truth the military couldn't bury. Take Glenn Dennis, a mortician at Ballard Funeral Home. He got a call from the army base asking about child-sized caskets 3 feet long, hermetically sealed. Curious. He drove to the base hospital and saw something he'd never forget. In a back room, guarded by MPs, were bodies on gurneys, covered but not fully. He glimpsed gray skin, thin limbs, and heads too large for their frames. Nurses he knew were shaken, one telling him in tears about non-human corpses. Glenn was escorted out, warned to forget what he saw. But how do you unsee that his story spread? And soon, others came forward. A nurse named Naomi Self claimed she'd assisted in an autopsy, describing beings with 4-fingered hands and skin that shimmered under light. These weren't just rumors. Lydia Slappy, a teletype operator at a Roswell radio station, was typing a story about the crash when her machine jammed. A message from the FBI flashed across, ceased transmission immediately. She never forgot that moment. The feeling of being watched. Even Meg Brazel's neighbors, like the Proctors, heard him hint at strange figures in the desert before he was silenced. The stories painted a vivid picture, a craft not of this world, carrying beings who didn't belong here. Can you feel the weight of that idea? The fear and wonder of knowing we might not be alone. What struck people most was the consistency. Witnesses who'd never met told near-identical tales, small, gray beings, a sleek disc, and a military desperate to hide it all. Some said the craft was taken to Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson, a place already shrouded in secrecy. Others swore soldiers found a second crash site days later, deeper in the desert, with more bodies. The details were too precise, too haunting to be made up. Roswell's people weren't chasing fame. They were scared, pressured to stay quiet, yet their stories leaked like water through a dam, building a legend that refused to die. What did they see in that desert? Were those beings watching us, even then? The Roswell story could have faded into the desert silence, locked away by military threats and time. But in 2025, the truth claws its way back. Declassified files, buried for decades, surface under pressure from UFO researchers and a curious public. These aren't grainy photos or vague reports. They're detailed documents, memos, and testimonies from the Pentagon's own archives. I'm holding one in my mind's eye now. Its pages stamped top secret, yellowed but legible. Dated July 1947. It's a report from Major Jesse Marcel to General Ramey, describing debris that defies known metallurgy. Another memo, from Wright-Patterson, mentions biological specimens under quarantine. Can you feel the pulse of that revelation after years of denials? Here's proof the government knew something extraordinary crashed in Roswell. The files don't just hint, they contradict the official story. The Army's weather balloon excuse falls apart when you read about materials tested at Los Alamos. Scientists noted a metal alloy, lighter than aluminum, but stronger than steel, with a molecular structure they couldn't replicate. One report describes a propulsion system, not mechanical, but electromagnetic, humming with energy, even when damaged. These weren't balloon scraps. They were technology beyond 1947's grasp. The documents name Project Mogul, a classified balloon program, as the cover story. But insiders admit it was a flimsy lie. Why? Because the truth was too big. A colonel's memo even mentions non-human remains, preserved in a classified lab. Imagine the secrecy, the fear, as they realized what they'd found. Then there's the smoking gun, a 1950 FBI teletype, declassified in 2025, confirming 3 saucer-shaped objects recovered in New Mexico. It describes occupants with humanoid features, but not of terrestrial origin. The language is clinical, but the implications are staggering. These files aren't from conspiracy blogs, they're from the government's own vaults, cross-referenced with witness accounts. Jesse Marcel's son, years later, recalled his father's sketches of the craft, a sleek disc, 30 feet wide, with no visible engines. The files back him up, describing a delta-shaped vehicle with no rivets or seams. Can you picture it? Glinting in the desert, a machine that shouldn't exist. The 2025 leaks don't just rekindle Roswell, they rewrite it. Social media erupts, with hashtags like Roswell Truth trending worldwide. People demand answers. Why hide this for 78 years? What else is locked away? The files suggest the government didn't just cover up a crash, they studied it. Labs at Area 51, then just a secret test site, reportedly received debris for analysis. Some say the tech-inspired breakthroughs, from fiber optics to stealth aircraft. But the bigger question lingers: were those beings alive? Did they send a message? As I sift through these pages, one thing's clear: the truth is out now, and it's shaking the world. What do you think? Is this the proof we've been waiting for? The 2025 files don't just expose Roswell, they ignite a firestorm of speculation. As I dive deeper into these revelations, I can't shake the feeling we're touching something forbidden. The documents hint at more than a crash. They suggest a deliberate agenda. Why else would the government bury this for nearly 80 years? The memos from 1947 don't just describe debris or bodies, they mention ongoing operations to secure the site and neutralize public interest. Neutralize. That word sends a chill. It's not about a balloon or a mistake, it's about control. People in Roswell, from McBrazel to Frankie Rowe, were silenced, their lives upended. But now, with the truth leaking, the question burns: what was the government so desperate to hide? Conspiracy theories explode online, each one wilder than the last. Some say Roswell was a warning, a scout ship sent to test Earth's defenses. Others claim the beings weren't just visitors, but engineers. Their craft a blueprint for technology we're only now beginning to understand. A leaked memo from 1952, part of the 2025 files, fuels the fire. It references Project Silverbug, a secret Air Force program to build disc-shaped aircraft. The sketches look eerily like the Roswell craft, sleek, seamless, defying aerodynamics. Was the military reverse engineering alien tick? Can you imagine the stakes, a race to harness power from another world, hidden from us all? Then there's the darker theory contact. A few documents, heavily redacted, mention communication attempts with the beings before they died. No details survive, just cryptic notes about signals and nonverbal intelligence. It's enough to make your skin crawl. Were they trying to tell us something, a warning, a plea? Online forums buzz with ideas maybe the government struck a deal, trading silence for knowledge. The Roswell Truth hashtag spawns threads about Area 51, where insiders claim the craft was taken. Some even tie it to the 1969 moon landing, saying Apollo tech came from Roswell's secrets. It sounds outlandish, but those files make you wonder what's too far-fetched now. The public's reaction is electric. UFO groups hold rallies outside Wright-Patterson, demanding access to Hangar on the Moon. Documentaries flood streaming platforms, rehashing witness accounts with new context. Roswell itself becomes a pilgrimage site. Its UFO museum packed with visitors staring at replicas of gray aliens and debris. But the theories aren't just about tech or deals, they're about us. Why keep humanity in the dark? Some say it's fear of panic, others control of power. A 1947 general's note, barely legible, warns of societal collapse if the truth spreads. Can you feel the weight of the choice to hide a reality that could change everything? As the theories swirl, one thing's clear. Roswell isn't just a story, it's a mirror, reflecting what we're ready to believe. The Roswell files of 2025 don't just stir theories, they demand answers, and science steps into the fray. As I imagine sifting through the declassified reports, I'm struck by the hard data buried in the pages. These aren't just stories anymore, they're evidence, tested and scrutinized. Back in 1947, the military sent debris samples to top labs Los Alamos, MIT, even a secret facility in Nevada. The results, hidden until now, are staggering. One report describes a metal alloy with isotopes not found on Earth, its atomic structure defying known physics. Another details fibers woven into the craft's hull, thinner than spider silk, but stronger than titanium. Can you picture scientists, their hands trembling, realizing this wasn't human-made? This was something else, something that challenged everything they knew. The weather balloon excuse crumbles under its weight. Project Mogul. The classified program the Army pinned it on used standard balloons foil, rubber, string. Nothing like the Roswell debris. A 1948 lab note, leaked in 2025, admits Mogul was a diversion, chosen because it was plausible. The real tests, conducted in secret, focused on the craft's propulsion. Engineers found no engines, just a lattice of crystals that pulsed with energy when exposed to radio waves. One scientist called it a living machine, responsive, almost aware. That phrase sticks with me living. What kind of technology thinks the files stop short of answers? But they hint at experiments that continued for decades, maybe even today. Modern experts, given access to these files, are floored. In 2025, a team at Stanford re-examines archived debris fragments, using spectrometry no one had in 47. They confirm the isotopes are extraterrestrial, matching nothing in our solar system's profile. A physicist on the team, speaking anonymously, says the material suggests manipulation at a quantum level. That's not just advanced, it's centuries beyond us. Online, skeptics try to debunk it, pointing to classified Cold War tech, but the data holds firm. Even the bodies get a second look. A 1947 autopsy sketch, crude but detailed, shows anatomy: 4 fingers, no ears. A fused ribcage that no hoaxer could have dreamed up. Pathologists in 2025 say it's consistent with a carbon-based life form, but not one from Earth. The scientific pushback is fierce, though some call it contamination. Others a Soviet ploy to scare the U.S., but the file's consistency, hundreds of pages, cross-referenced with witness accounts, makes denial tough. Posts on X explode, with viral Roswell proof trending as scientists debate live. The question isn't just, was it real, but what now? If this craft existed, where is it? Area 51? A bunker we'll never find. And those beings were the explorers, or something else? As the evidence mounts, I can't help but wonder, are we ready for the truth? Or is the real mystery why we're still afraid to ask? The truth about Roswell doesn't just sit in files or labs, it lives in us. In the way it reshapes how we see the stars. Standing here in 2025 with the declassified documents laid bare, I feel the weight of 78 years of secrets. Roswell isn't just a crash site anymore, it's a symbol, a crack in the wall between what we're told and what might be. The town itself has transformed. The UFO museum hums with visitors, its gift shops selling alien trinkets. But the locals know the real story. They've carried it since 1947 through whispers of gray beings and a craft that vanished into military vaults. Can you feel their pride? Roswell's no longer a footnote, it's the heart of a mystery that won't let go. The legacy ripples far beyond New Mexico. UFO culture, from the X-Files to ancient aliens, owes its spark to Roswell. Every blurry video, every abduction tale, traces back to that desert. In 2025, the files fuel a new wave. Documentaries dissect the debris' isotopes, while X posts with "You were Roswell truth" hit millions of views. people aren't just curious. They're hungry for meaning. Was the crash a mistake? A scout ship caught off guard? Or was it a message? A test we failed by hiding it? The files don't say, and that silence drives the obsession. Conspiracy podcasts churn out theories, secret pacts, alien tech in our drones. Some even tie it to 2025's global tensions, asking if the truth surfaced now for a reason. But Roswell's impact isn't just speculation, it's personal. Families like Jesse Marcel still defend their name, sharing sketches of the craft he saw. Frankie Rose's descendants keep her story alive. Her fear of those creatures etched in their memories. The town hosts festivals. But beneath the kitsch is a quiet resolve they were right. The world mocked them, but the files prove they saw something real. That validation matters. It's why crowds gather at Wright-Patterson, chanting for Hangar 18 secrets. It's why UFO sightings spike every time Roswell trends. We're all looking up now, wondering who's watching back. The mystery endures because it's bigger than one crash. It's about trust, about what governments owe us. The 1947 cover-up soldiers, threats, erased stories, shows how far they'll go to control the narrative. In 2025, with transparency demands growing, Roswell feels urgent. If they heed this, what else is out there? The stars feel closer, but the truth stays just out of reach. What do you think? Will we ever know the full story? Or is Roswell's real power in the questions it leaves behind? Roswell's story is more than a crash. It's a mirror reflecting our deepest fears and hopes. In 1947, a desert town stumbled into a mystery that reshaped how we see ourselves in the cosmos. The 2025 files, with their chilling details of unearthly debris and beings, confirm what Roswell's people always knew: something extraordinary happened. Yet, the cover-up, the silence, shows how truth can be buried under power. Today, Roswell stands as a challenge to question, to wonder, to look up. Are we alone? Was this a warning, a gift, or a mistake? The answers may still be out there, in a vault or among the stars. What do you think? Could Roswell be the key to our place in the universe? Leave a comment below, share your thoughts, and let's keep chasing the truth together.